His campaign has been so historic in so many ways. We've built the biggest, the broadest, the most unified coalition. They've never seen anything like it in all of American history. They've never seen it. Young and old, men and women, rural and urban. And we had them all helping us tonight. They came from all corners, union, non-union, African American, Hispanic American, Asian American, Arab American, Muslim American. We had everybody, and it was beautiful. It was a historic realignment, uniting citizens of all backgrounds around a common core of common sense.
There's a lot to dissect from Donald Trump's election victory speech, but this short segment will and should haunt the Dems for decades to come. Hearing someone with a track record of bigotry and discrimination like Donald Trump brag about courting groups of voters who have historically supported the Dems is a major indictment not only of Harris's campaign strategy and the apathy it caused in the Democrat voter base, but of the party's leadership and the identity of the party as a whole. The party is in a full-blown crisis, and some serious self-reflection and criticism needs to happen.
If you think the party's supposed to move to the center, does it actually, or do you actually think that some of the folks who are seriously on the left say it was not left enough?
Well, they are going to say that because my observation, they always say it, right? At least in recent years. But I don't think that's where the party's going to end up. I think this is a repudiation in many respects of the progressive side of the party, even though Harris herself did not run a Sanders-like or AOC-like campaign. Right. But I think the aura around the party is influenced a lot by the progressive.
Yet you have ghouls like this living in denial and refusing to recognize that it's the party's responsibility to respond to the wishes of the voter base, not the other way around. If anything, Harris's defeat signals a rejection of the current rendition of the Democratic Party itself, which wouldn't have been as big of a problem if the party forced Biden not to run for re-election and held a real open primary. The majority of voters support progressive policies, but the stink of the Dems is too much for some to look past, which is evident in firmly red states, like voters in Alaska and Missouri voting to approve a $15 minimum wage, also joining Nebraska and expanding access for workers to earn paid sick leave. Alaska even went further and passed a key provision to ban captive audience meetings so workers wouldn't be forced to listen to anti-union and anti-worker propaganda from the company they generate the profits for. Reproductive rights were also codified into the state constitutions in deep red. Missouri and Montana and the swing states of Arizona and Nevada. Nebraska and Kentucky joined Colorado in rejecting school voucher programs, dealing a blow to the anti-public education movement. While it would have been great to see more states pass their ganj legalization and abortion rights ballot measures, and for Californians to reject literally legalized slavery through prison labor, I mean, what are you guys doing? The fact of the matter is that voters agree with the progressive message, just not the Democratic Party as the messenger. Bringing us to this scathing two-part letter from Bernie Sanders, highlighting the party's abandonment of campaigning on progressive populist economic policies while saying the same thing we've been saying all along. People want change, and the Dems, at least in the perspective of voters, represent the status quo. The Republicans are far from anti-establishment themselves, but their messaging says the exact opposite, and their voter base gobbles it up without question. In this second part, Bernie hits the nail on the head by focusing on how the material conditions voters are currently experiencing led to the rejection of the Dems. Regardless of any economic success markers, if the people aren't feeling a strong economy in their daily lives, they'll be less inclined to think the economy is doing well, which hits at another crucial aspect of the Dems' identity crisis, serving the class interests of the oligarchs and corporations who fund the party. The tension between working Americans and the upper 1% directly influenced Harris's heel turn to the right of Joe Biden of all people, and with that followed her blind support of Israel and wholesale dismissal of anyone even slightly critical of the ethnic cleansing our tax dollars facilitate. Look no further than the DNC's refusal to acknowledge a Palestinian Democratic speaker and the reasonable demands of the uncommitted movement at this year's DNC. And speaking of the DNC and the tension within the party,
Donald Trump thinks that we should trust him on the economy because he claims to be very rich. but take it from an actual billionaire. Trump is rich in only one thing: stupidity.
Look, J.B. Pritzker is nowhere near as unhinged as his fellow billionaire class, and does support some really great policies like thinking healthcare is a human right, protecting abortion access, and investing in improving infrastructure in Illinois. But the optics of him bragging about being a billionaire to the party who built its relevance off of the backs of working people, and just after Sanders spoke, he said more than we ever could about how the Dems leadership wants to govern. They consciously decided to abandon anyone further to the left of Joe Biden in hopes of winning over the negligent amount of moderate and never Trumper Republicans who were willing to vote against the party.
Inflation started going up, we started to get some corporate earnings calls where they were saying this is an opportunity for us to raise prices and keep them high. They were saying it publicly. If he had hit that, and that's the kind of left-wing populist. So his legacy is getting crushed by a pretty good economy because he couldn't actually go after the real
But doesn't that go to the
villain.
point of what you said? And let's wrap up with a really good point you made earlier about tacking to the top versus tacking to the left or right. It's not about left or right or even being a socialist or Bernie. It's about Democrats being able to identify villains, enemies, opponents in the way that Republicans do, from trans kids to, Iran to liberal elites on the coasts. They're very good at finding enemies. Democrats prefer to campaign with their enemies.
Instead of campaigning multiple times with Liz Cheney, adopting a right-wing campaign platform and caving to corporate interests, Harris could have and should have been doing more media spots focusing on the messaging.
Donald Trump and Elon Musk went live together on a stream and joked about how they were going, not even joked, they were very serious about how you need to lay off union workers or any worker the moment you even sense the fact that they may want to organize for better wages and conditions in their workplace. Elon Musk is a union buster and Donald Trump is a scab. And the two of them put together cannot be put anywhere near any sort of influence in the White House. With the billions of dollars in government contracts that he seeks to secure for himself and the billions of dollars in tax cuts that he seeks to exempt himself from paying to contribute for everyday people's schools, roads, bridges, and more.
Calling out elite people in comedy should be the rule of thumb.
I think Donald Trump's hair is actually another creature.
Yeah.
The hair's like going, good night, Donald. Good night, Donald. There we go.
Maybe it goes out. It goes out and makes money while he's asleep.
There is something about punching down that feels taboo, and punching up is the way to go.
Crack's not really my thing, but if it was, it would be fine if I was on that side.
Wow.
Don Jr.'s on coke.
We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated. I'm a very stable genius.
It is very important, the work that the Jordan Kleppers are doing, the work that the Good Liars are doing, the work that our team here at the Turks are doing, and many more.
What he does, he secretly puts the marker on the end of the putter, and then he looks like he's marking it, but really, now the mark is 3 feet closer. That's a way easier putt.
He cheats a lot. That if you cheat at golf, you cheat at life. The saying goes for Donald Trump.